till we get going on the Savage Romney empty chair shtick. Stu in New York on WOR Radio. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi. I wanted to make a comment regarding the closure of the space program and your commentary. Firstly, I'd like to say you have a great show, and I consider you a true patriot, and I consider myself a conservative. I have a degree in political science, and I'm a public defender in Brooklyn. I see the issues from the left and the right. With respect to the space program, Mr. Savage, I think, although you might be right-wing, you're on the wrong wing with that issue. And I think you're on the wrong wing because the space program needs to be privatized. Profit has to be brought into the space program. There has to be a financial incentive as well as a technological incentive to continue sending spacecraft up. Big government is not the answer for the space program.
Well, wait a minute. Wait, let's take your logic for a moment, because I've heard this argument before, and let's discuss it for a moment. By your thinking, it should be based upon profit only, correct? Profit and loss?
Well, not profit only. It should be profit. There should be an incentive for profit.
Well, by your reasoning, Mr. Public Defender, shouldn't we then privatize the U.S. military and give it out to the lowest bidder, let the Chinese run our military? After all, they don't require a lot of money. The Chinese will work for very little food. You don't have to have any ethnic foods for them, any ethnic training. Why don't we just get rid of our military and hire the Chinese military as our Hessians?
Because I think you're mixing apples with oranges. I don't think defense and space exploration are done for the same reasons.
Well, hold on. Let's take that apart for the moment. Not done for the same reason? You mean the Chinese are investing billions into space exploration for peaceful reasons, not to gain dominance over us?
No, I can't talk about what the Chinese incentive is for their own space program. I can tell you that with respect to big government and conservative values, I don't think big government should be forever the sole.
But you see, what you're doing is you're parsing the question. You're being a very, very good lawyer, but you're not using logic here at all. You know the Chinese are investing billions, if not trillions, into space exploration so they can dominate space, because Obama has created the Obama Doctrine not only on the globe, but in space as well. He has said, we will not compete with you. He has Leon Panetta in China saying, we will let you grow. We don't care. We're not going to compete with you. So you're wrong. They are trying to dominate space. And once they do, we will be a vassal state of China. How much worse does it have to get? And then as far as your first argument goes, I've heard it before, which is let's privatize it. That's a conservative idea. Let's not use big government. Well, by the same token, why not throw away the U.S. Navy? Let the Chinese run our Navy as well. And you say one has nothing to do with the other. But you're wrong, my friend. NASA, space exploration, and our military are all one and the same. They're not separated. Obama separated them in order to carve them up.
Well, when you put it that way, there are defense-related issues with space. And I agree that the Chinese and their motives are probably to gain a technical edge with respect to spy satellites and surveillance and early warning and so forth. But to the extent that space exploration and the exploration of the moon and Mars is for peaceful purposes, I think that should be privatized. I think that companies should go up there to obtain resources, whatever minerals are up there, et cetera, et cetera. I think we are mixing apples with oranges. From a defense perspective, you have a point. We should not be giving up our technical edge by walking away from the space program. So there should be some government participation.
Well, wait, even your local newspaper, the New York Times, a liberal newspaper, wrote this. Even a reporter for the New York Times was left scratching his head about Obama's decision back in 2010 when he decided to do this. And here's what he wrote, and I have it in my book. I have all my facts in front of me, which you as a lawyer understand the facts are important. Here's what he wrote, liberal New York Times. In place of the moon mission, Mr. Obama's vision offers, at least initially, nothing in terms of human exploration of the solar system. What the administration calls a bold new initiative does not spell out a next destination or timetable for getting there. Okay, so that was a mild, middle-of-the-road criticism. But what did astronaut Neil Armstrong, the first man on the moon, and Eugene Cernan, the last to set foot on the rocky soil of the moon, say? Here's what they said about the impact of Obama's plan, quote, "The USA is far too likely to be on a long downhill slide to mediocrity. America must decide if it wishes to remain a leader in space." What would you say to that?
Men and innovators like Mr. Rutan out in California that's producing spacecraft that do go up into outer space. We do have a fledgling privatized space program right now. I would hope that the government continues to fund them to a greater degree and support them. And I agree with you from a defense perspective that we need to maintain a technical edge so that the Chinese don't take out our satellites or gain a technical edge with respect
But how do you feel about our nation proposing that the USA buy tickets on a Russian rocket to get our astronauts and cargo into space? How do you feel about the fact that he has authorized the purchase of 6 seats a year on Russia's Soyuz spacecraft at $56 million per seat for however long that it takes for the private sector to build a replacement? So there's big government at work. At the same time, you're saying that he did this to save money. He isn't saving very much money when he's paying nearly $60 million a seat to get our astronauts to the moon. So there's more to it than meets the eye, isn't there?
The public needs to know that there are private entrepreneurs like Mr. Rutan.
And by the way, since Russia will be providing the ride, they get to dictate the terms of what our astronauts can and cannot do, how much gear they're permitted to bring, how much they are able to bring back from these missions. And by the way, my friend, Obama gets the trump card. He lets Russia eavesdrop on the activities of our astronauts. Doesn't that bother you?
It absolutely does. I'm hoping that our fledgling...
All right, well, I think you've stimulated conversation. I've heard the argument before, but I've never answered it as excellently as I just did. The phone number is 1-800-449-8255. I'll throw this back to the audience, particularly the audience of ex-NASA engineers in Houston, Texas, one of my largest affiliates. What arguments would you make arguing that NASA should be government-run and that if Mitt Romney gets off his behind and wins, he should reinstitute the NASA Space Shuttle program? I'd like to hear it. Maybe the audience will learn something from it. 1-800-449-8255. Again, later on in this hour, actually next hour, Michael Savage has Romney's empty chair sitting here in the studio, and I will be interviewing Mitt Romney's empty chair with questions, and you'll get the answers that, well, you won't get the answers because I'm using Clint Eastwood's technique of the empty chair, because that's what we have now, which is an empty suit and an empty microphone. Okay? That's it.